Good morning, everyone. Some of you may know me, but if you don't, my name is Nick Parati, and I'm a junior at Massachusetts Maritime Academy. Massachusetts Maritime Academy was established in 1891 and is the second oldest maritime academy in the United States, behind SUNY Maritime. It was originally established to graduate deck and marine engineers to serve in the U.S. Merchant Marines. Since then, the Academy has expanded its majors to now 7, with emergency management being one of them. Emergency management was established at Mass Maritime in the year 1990, and the course curriculum now includes 2 internships that are 240 hours each. So how did I spend my summer vacation? I spent it as an emergency manager with the town of Chatham. Here are some of my emergency management accomplishments I completed. I developed my ability to follow emergency policies. I completed 12 incident command courses through an online database with FEMA. And I took a tour of the Barnstable Multi-Agency Coordination Center with Chip Riley. And that's also where I'll be after this. The MAC will be activated due to the Providence Carnival. Lastly, I obtained my first aid certification thanks to Mark Heller. And also later in the presentation, I'll be speaking about my professional development skills. On June 21st, Broad Reach Adult Living Facility hosted a tabletop exercise on an active shooter incident. This exercise introduced the staff members of the local SWAT, police department, and fire departments to the Broad Reach staff. Tabletop exercises are vital for the preparedness of responders. Training and discussion for the staff was identified as one of the critical lessons learned. After the exercise was over, I was then tasked to create an after-action report that helps identify the areas that are in need of improvement, also to make any recommendations for the future. An after-action report really just captures what was learned. Thank you to Joel Ferguson for helping me with this. An incident action plan is a written plan that sets forth the incident objectives and reflects the tactics necessary to manage an incident during an operational period. The operational period for this IEP was the 4th of July events that took place in Chatham. The great thing about an IEP is it can be updated every year depending on the situation, so they don't have to create a new one every single year. I collaborated with fire, police, and the Department of Public Works to make this plan possible. Inside an IEP is important information, schedules, operation areas, and mission objectives. My next project I worked on was a point of distribution site, or an emergency distribution site plan, traffic plan. Also known, it is a centralized location in an impacted area where survivors can pick up life-saving, sustaining relief supplies following a disaster or an emergency. And it can also be used for vaccinations if there was another pandemic. To develop this project, I met with the town's agent, Judy, and her assistant, Lucas, and Elizabeth Haskell 3 times a week. With the information I obtained, I was able to create an effective traffic plan. I also would like to say thank you to the local DPW for letting me physically visit the site and use my technological skills to create an aerial view of the site. There's the aerial view I created. The next project I worked on was the Continuity of Operations Plan, or the COOP. Its purpose is to ensure the critical government functions can continue or resume during and after a disaster. I collaborated with Rachel Fleck from MEMA and Chip Riley, and I utilized the state's standardized outline to create this plan. Although I only created a rough draft, it will end up being implemented into the into the town's comprehensive emergency management plan. The next project I worked on was the Special Assistance List. At the Chatham Police Department, there's a Special Assistance List. It is a crucial document for in case of a larger scale emergency. Special assistant residents such as elderly people can be placed on this list so first responders know who to evacuate, and they also know who's most vulnerable during a disaster. To update the list, I called each resident individually and made sure they wanted to be an active participant still. This creates better accuracy for first responders and for the residents. Here are some of the computer-based FEMA training courses I completed over my internship. I also took advantage of an in-person Incident Command System 300 class. This class was up in Tewksbury. I drove up there for the week, and I was exposed to some of the best emergency management professionals there is from many different agencies. There's also going to be a course on September 29th in Orleans. I highly recommend anyone to go to the course. With Mark Heller, I obtained my CPR and first aid certification. During this course, we practiced our compressions, we practiced how to use AEDs, and we also practiced how to stop someone from choking. And last but not least, my weakest skill, professional development. Over the course of this internship, I was given multiple opportunities to practice my public speaking. For example, my posture when I speak, eye contact when I speak, and just simple fidgeting. I also would like to thank Megan Downey for helping me update my resume with everything I've done so far in my internship and helping me get set up for the whole future. Also, I'd like to thank the local chiefs, the police, the fire, and everyone who was at the mock interview on Monday. That really helped me. I learned a tremendous amount. I'm now light years ahead of my peers. Before I open the floor to any questions, I just want to say thank you to the town of Chatham for giving me the opportunity. I learned a lot. I loved being in the community, and I don't regret anything I did. I loved everything, every second of it. So thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Yep. Yes, sir.
First of all, Nick, good job. Great
Thank you.
presentation. My name is Chris Horvath, Emergency Management Director from town of Plymouth. If I am able to obtain a intern next summer, how do you recommend I utilize them? And what advice would you give to them prior to reporting to a town for emergency management?
If you were able to obtain an intern for next summer, I would utilize them with the technology side of things, because my generation, our upbringing, the way we were brought up, we learned how to use technology efficiently. And most likely your intern would be from my generation and would know how to use all the new technologies, for example, Web EOC.
Okay.
And the second part of your question was?
What recommendation or tips would you give the intern prior to them reporting?
One of my recommendations would to always show up 15 minutes early. That's something we learn at Mass Maritime, but it really helps a lot, because you never want to show up late to any type of job. And I would also give them a good tip. Any opportunity you have to public speak, do it, because that's a crucial part of emergency management, especially when you're briefing people.
Were you able to help Mr. KZ with his technology skills?
Yes, sir. For example, he didn't know how to do screenshots on the Mac, so that's one of the best ways to just transport files, so I showed him how to do that. I was able to show him how to do a lot of technology.
I'm sure you can keep going with 4 examples. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
First of all, great job.
Thank you.
Your public speaking skills have improved immensely since you started this whole project.
Thank you.
My question is, what could we do better? What could we do for you and for our future interns? What were we lacking? Is there anything that we were lacking in trying to help you?
Sure.
With your 240 hours is a lot to fill.
Mm-hmm.
KZ does a great job with that, but what can we do better?
Another one of my goals coming into this internship was becoming proficient with ArcGIS. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to contact the ArcGIS department from this town, but if that could happen in the future, that would definitely help an intern, for sure, especially in my line of work.
Nick, I have more of a comment than a question. I just
Yes,
want
sir.
to say, in regards to the IAPs, the incident action plans, you know, for some people that don't really use them regularly, it's a really valuable asset. It's not something that necessarily we pull out and use in practice. We all know how to do our jobs and go out there and, you know, go through the routine of a 4th of July parade. We've done it long enough, and we go out and do what's expected of us. But to have that documentation to fall back on, it's really something that's there in case something goes bad. And now we have that plan that we can just revert to. But it's also a way that we can pull it out after the fact when we do a review and say, we followed our plan, we did this, we did that. So to have that documentation is really important in the aftermath of an event. So thank you for helping us with all that, and it's going to be valuable going forward for us.
Thank you for the opportunity. Anybody else? Yep. Yes, ma'am?
Yeah, just to follow up on that, the same thing with our emergency dispensing site, or point of distribution safety and traffic plan that you did. We've been kind of using our plan, which wasn't written down, for the past several years through COVID, for flu clinics and COVID vaccine clinics, and it was really great that kind of we threw this at you at the last minute, and you were able to pivot and put this down on paper and become part of our FEP plan, our public health emergency plan, and the town's comprehensive emergency plan. So thank you very much. You did a great job.
Thank you.
One of the other things that Nick did, and he talked about in one of his slides, is, and he did this on his own time, something to be aware of. If you noticed, he put down all the ICS training that he did. It just goes to show you his initiative and how committed he is. Those top courses that he took up there are all computer-based training, with the exception of the 300. And all those he did in his spare time, which was not on our time. So that's in excess of his 240 hours. And some of those courses, like the 120, which is exercise planning, is a 6-hour computer-based training course. So that just goes to show you his initiative and what he's put forth in reference to that. So again, Nick, thank you very much for that.
Nick, I had one question.
Yes, sir.
What did you want to do with the ArcGIS, and what did we miss there?
Well, I anticipated some projects I would be using ArcGIS. For example, this project. I didn't actually use ArcGIS to make this project. I used Google Earth because I wasn't proficient with ArcGIS, so I wasn't able to do that. But I was able to come up with something else. So.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah. You're the town director?
Yes. Good. So I'm glad we got that. We got to work together at the FD, so it wasn't a trick question. That wasn't the only one. So just piggybacking on our harbor master's question. So so connecting you to our town departments.
Yep.
So like with the GIS department, did you have someone to call and you didn't call them back, or they didn't call you back, or what?
I'll be honest, me and KZ reached out to the department through emails, and I'm not sure if we called them or not, but they just never reached back.
Okay. Is that directly to them?
Couple times.
Okay, good.
Yes, ma'am.
And then sometimes when we do interviews, we kind of go off script.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Megan, if you've already chimed in. I'm sorry, I wasn't able to make your presentation.
We did a mock interview with him just a few days ago. So we had done a review of his resume, and then we did a mock interview with him.
Okay, then we won't get into that. So I was just curious, so what's your sense of the community of Chatham itself? I know you've done a lot of great things to help us in emergency response, but what's your sense of the community?
Well, my first thought when I entered the town, I saw the community center, how big and how gorgeous it was. I realized the town, everyone helps each other. Everyone really has each other's back. It's not one of those towns where people play with politics and all that stuff. Everyone actually has their back, and I'm proud to be an intern for this town.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
My only comment is we at the police department were extremely impressed
We were glad to have you, and if this is a reflection of the students in your program, you should be very proud of that program, because this young man, Nick, here is really squared away.
Thank you.
So just to do a quick intro, I'm Kelly DeMello. I'm from Mass Maritime. I help coordinate the co-op programs. And KZ by far has one of our, I reach out to him constantly when I work with new towns on how to help create an internship program. So KZ recently sent me, kind of his bullet points that he works with the students. So I have a quick question for you, Nick.
Yes, ma'am.
How do we help? Was a town internship something you were looking for beforehand, or was this kind of something that you're like, oh, I need a co-op, this looks good? So kind of what are your career paths, and has your co-op changed that?
Coming out of the academy, I didn't know what I wanted to pursue for a career. I knew for my first internship, I wanted to work on the federal level and work with a town government, because I knew it would be a good intro to everything I was learning. And after this internship, I'm definitely inspired to become a first responder in my community or community around here, because that will lay the base for the rest of my career.
Awesome. And I'm also going to make a totally selfish plug right now. Mass Maritime does 2 career fairs every year, one in the spring and one in the fall. This past spring, it was too big. We had 175 employers come to the campus, and it was too much for both the students and the school to handle. So we're actually breaking our co-op, our career fair, into 2 sections this year, and we're doing one focused strictly on EM organizations and agencies. So if any of you would like to come, I'm happy to take your business card or share mine with you, and invite you to that career fair. It's October 27th we're calling it an EM Expo, and it's geared again strictly for our EM students, because it's such a unique line of work, and there's so many organizations that focus strictly on our EM students to expand them. And it is the largest major we have shoreside right now. So we want to make sure we have enough co-ops and opportunities as more and more students file through that program. So that's my selfish plug. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
I know we've been working for the past few weeks, and just seeing the improvement has been great. I did have one question as far as your special assistants, that list you updated.
Yep.
Is that something that you then plan to, moving forward the town, do they plan to hear a call in about a year? Is it random for updating that?
It's not random. The list does need to be updated yearly.
Okay.
It's just so that all the active participants still want to be on the list, and the list is ready just in case there's a major disaster.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah, that list is updated yearly.
Okay.
It just happened to be
When,
coincidence at the
It was
time, so we
just a
said, hey, here's a
coincidence.
perfect
that's
assignment for
great.
you. Yeah.
Awesome.
And to expand upon that, one of the things is, because the special assistance list changes rapidly, one of the things, because we happen to be getting interns in the summer and in the fall, and Chief and I have talked about this, trying to do it each time we have an intern, so every 6 months, because a lot of that information with the demographics change. So in order to keep it best up to date and accurate, we're gonna try to work on it from a 6-month period. So that's what my plan is to go forward with their syllabus, is that's gonna be one of the special things. Absolutely. Good question.
Anybody else have any questions? Yes, sir.
Nick, thank you very much. Did an
Thank you.
outstanding job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Also, Sergeant Goodard, happy birthday. This is my present to you.